Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Inside Track, Equibase's weekly handicapping podcast, where we give our analysis, picks, and wagers for a couple of the weekend's top races. I'm your host, Ben Kudla, and today I'm joined by Colin Sheehan, making his 2025 Inside Track debut, a very insightful handicapper, and also the host of the Doubling Down podcast on Trust the Profits YouTube channel. Please go ahead and check that out and follow Colin at CSheehan45 on X for more great racing content. Colin, so great to have you back on the show. I think since Breeders' Cup, our Breeders' Cup special.
Yeah, it's great to be back, obviously, in 2025. And it's nice, Ben, that I booked last night my trip to Bluegrass to Keeneland for my first trip down to Keeneland for April 4th. I'm sitting here in Boston in the snow and the cold, and at least now I have a plane ride to look forward to and hopefully some warm weather and some great racing that will, I think we'll see this weekend that might have an imprint on that race. You know, it's a horse like Sierra Leone last year who went Risen Star to Bluegrass. Maybe we have some horses that we're going to see this weekend that might do that same thing. So I'll be excited to come down and join you in Lexington in a few months.
Oh, Kentucky's going to be stoked to have you. Bluegrass Day, it's something special, and Keeneland is just a very special place. So no, it's going to be it could be snowing maybe or really warm. Just, April and October are very you just never know. But yeah, a fantastic weekend of racing this weekend. 6 stakes races on Saturday at Fairgrounds, including 4 graded stakes races. The Grade 3 Royal Delta Stakes at Gulfstream Park Saturday, 2 Road to the Kentucky Derby prep races, 2 Road to the Kentucky Oaks prep races, 5 stakes races on Sunday at Sunland Park. So just a plethora of great races ahead in North America. But today's show, we'll be handicapping the Grade 2 Risen Star Stakes, the Grade 2 Rachel Alexandra Stakes, as well as the 400,000 Sunland Park Derby. But before we begin, this Saturday is the last race to the NHC contest on horseplayers.com. And your last chance to qualify for the Raceland's Final 50 contest on February 22nd, which sends 2 people to NHC 2025 with a travel voucher and a 4-night stay at a Horseshoe Casino. The top 2 finishers in this free feeder contest on Saturday will earn their seat to the Raceland's Final 50, which of course sends 2 active Raceland's users to NHC 2025. More details and a link to sign up for this week's contest are on equibase.com/NHC. Let's just dive right into these Kentucky Oaks and Derby preps. The Grade 2 Rachel Alexandra Stakes at Fairgrounds, a 50-point Kentucky Oaks prep race, the first 50-point prep of the year. Mile and 16th on the dirt for 3-year-old fillies. Last year's winner was Tarifa, a Godolphin homebred for Shinner Bradcox with Flavian Pratt aboard. Tarifa went on to win the Grade 2 Fairgrounds Oaks and finished 9th in the Kentucky Oaks last year. So since 1991, it's interesting, Colin. 10 fillies have competed in the Rachel Alexandra Stakes that went on to win the Kentucky Oaks. 1997, Blushing KD. 1999, Silver Bullet Day. 2005, Summerlee. 2008, Proud Spell. 2012, Believe You Can. 2014, Untappable. 2015, Lovely Maria. 2018, Monomoy Girl. 2019, Serengeti Express. And 2023, Pretty Mischievous. So it was a fantastic field with 2 undefeated fillies going head-to-head. Those being Good Cheer, who has 4 wins from 4 starts, winning by combined 32.5 lengths, and Simply Joking with back-to-back listed stakes wins. Who are you going with here, Colin?
Well, unfortunately, Ben, you ruined my day today when you emailed me telling me that my horse that I was actually most excited to look forward to this weekend was scratching out of this race, which was Ballerina Doro. This horse, whose replay I've been watching this week as I prepared for our preview show over on Trust the Profits, this had some excitement in that last race in the Demoiselle. This horse did everything it could to lose, and was between horses, was behind horses.
Brutal start.
Stretch kind of had a little funny, didn't run straight in the stretch. Actually ran 19 feet longer than the winner on that day, losing by a length. The horse had previously been running on the turf, including a victory at Kentucky Downs. And that is some disappointing news that you had sent to me, because this was absolutely going to be my on-top pick. So for those of you, the horse spiked a fever, Chad Brown said, so they had to scratch out of this race. And at that point, once that happens, I thought that could set up some competition for Good Cheer. But now Good Cheer just really looks pretty strong in here. This horse trained by Brett Cox with Louis Saez aboard, 4 for 4. Some really impressive victories. He's actually won the 4 races by 32.5 lengths.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's insane. And that last race was the Grade 2 Goldenrod at Churchill Downs, which was a mile and a 16th. So, I mean, maybe if you're looking for an angle, which I'll bring this angle to the Risen Star when we talk about East Avenue, is it's the first time running in 2025, hasn't raced since that Goldenrod on November 30th. But has been working pretty consistently, put up a bullet work right out of the gate January 4th, and then just had some maintenance 5 furlong, 4 and 5 furlong workouts. Godolphin bred, Godolphin owned. Good Cheer looks tough. If I had to go elsewhere, I think Simply Joking, as you had mentioned, is a possibility. I'm always a little skeptical of the horses sired by Practical Joke. Maybe it's a bias I have when they start going longer that I need to, check myself on. And
but with these young horses that, only have a couple races under their belt, breeding matters, bloodline matters. So it's not a knock. I mean, it's the stats are the stats.
Yeah, and the one nice thing about Simply Joking is, yes, only 2 races, but has shown the versatility to win both from off the front end and then go wire to wire in that slop at Fairgrounds on January 18th. Torres stays aboard for Whit Beckman. But I couldn't kind of move away from Good Cheer at this point. Very disappointed that I didn't get the horse I really wanted to see. And so I'll go Good Cheer on top. Do you agree?
Unfortunately, yeah. A lot like you, Ballerina d'Oro just really just sparked my interest, especially with Flavian Pratt. And Chad Brown is very rarely kind of comes to Fairgrounds in the past 5 years. I don't have these written down anymore. I had to delete them all for this show, but I think he's winning at 30% in the past 5 years or something, all races, and obviously Pratt, by the way, 50% win percentage in graded stakes races in 2025. 3 wins, 6 stars, a third, and a second. Just wow. Just so honest. And he's winning at 33% in all races in 2025. So you bet on him 3 times. He's going to win once. But yeah, so that being out, it was, to me, just between those two, Good Cheer and Simply Joking. And, Simply Joking could be a freak. I mean, breaking your maiden in a listed stake is pretty wild. But there are a couple things I didn't like. Jamie Torres, I love him, but he's been struggling a bit at Fairgrounds. It's something to take notice. Simply Joking, she flopped leads late in the Silver Bullet Day as well. Really has been tested, and to go up against a horse like Good Cheer is quite a big test. And then, in the Silver Bullet Day, she beat Blessed Broken, who's the 7 in here, but she was 16 to 1. So, and no one's really come back to even run in that race. So Good Cheer to me just seems like a clear single. And I think if you can put it in exotics as some way to make money. And honestly, I don't even know if anybody else besides Simply Joking is going to come in second. So, I think just
the one was one I kind of had piqued my interest. This horse last time for Kenny McPeak and Ira comes over to ride. Obviously, he's maybe more attractive in the next race, but the last speed figure was a 91 with Equibase speed figures and that allowance claimer. But that stood out to me. This horse had to drop down to a maiden claiming at Oaklawn. It was 100K to break the maiden, then goes into the allowance optional claimer, backs it up with another rail bid and was able to clear. That was on a track that was favoring horses on the front end. This horse came from a little bit behind those. So, maybe the one, but I think you go Good Cheer over. Maybe you do a 2-6-1 try straight. Or maybe you look at those payouts and go 2-6 or 2-1 on the exact is maybe what I'm looking at.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. And also one stat I forgot to mention, the past 5 years, Brad Cox wins it. Okay, I forgot to even put the graphic here, but Brad Cox the past 5 years wins at 36% in graded stakes races at Fairgrounds, 18 wins from 50 starts and 62% in the money, 102% positive ROI, which I thought it's incredibly interesting. I mean, I would figure most of his starts were as favorites. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think she's going to go off at? I'm going to say 1-9 all in, but.
I mean, Simply Joking might take a little bit because people aren't going to want to play that 1-9. It's a 6-horse field now.
Yeah, that's true.
1-9. I don't know. I don't know if I could bet at 1-9. That's not for me on a 3-year-old. First time in the 3-year-old season. Like, I would just pass on the race at that point.
Yeah, I can see that. But nonetheless, Colin and I both agree Good Cheer is a single on that. And let's move to the Equibase featured race of the week, Grade 2 Risen Star Stakes at Fairgrounds, the first 50-point Kentucky Derby prep race, mile and an eighth on the dirt for 3-year-olds. Last year's winner went on to become the Eclipse Award champion 3-year-old colt in 2024. The mighty Sierra Leone, as you mentioned, won this race last year for trainer Chad Brown with Flavian Pratt aboard. Sierra Leone went on to win the Grade 1 Bluegrass at Keeneland before running second in the Kentucky Derby by a whisker. Sierra Leone ran in the money in the Belmont, Jim Dandy, and Travers before winning the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Classic in November. So since 1991, 3 horses have run the Risen Star Stakes that went on to win the Kentucky Derby, those being War Emblem in 2002, Country House in 2019, and Mandaloon in 2021. A field of 13 in here. Really fun race to handicap. Excited who you think will be the next Risen Star winner.
It's exciting because you really start to feel the Derby season, right? I mean, now we're up in the point
50-point start.
Horses start appearing, and you do get a little bit of the contenders and the pretenders. So field of 13, and you got quite a few that are 12-1 or higher, some 20-1s. But at the same time, you do get a nice little glimpse of that upper echelon of horses who we've watched through the 2-year-old campaign and now come into their 3-year-old campaign. Most notably, horses like Jonathan's Way, East Avenue, and the number 9 Built. The number 9 Built was a horse that ran in the Lecomte. That track was sloppy that day, and I've kept saying it on Trust the Profits. This horse is a grinder. He kind of just keeps, he's not as flashy as far as getting up to that top-notch speed as quick as some others, but once he gets going, he kind of just keeps coming, right? Like Curlin, like Hard Spun, which is where the breeding falls for this horse Built. Wasn't expected to show up here. I think the plan was to run him in the Louisiana Derby, but they said he's come out of the Lecomte so well, and they feel like they have a Derby horse. So if you don't run here, you're putting all your eggs in one basket in the Louisiana Derby as far as trying to get the points to get into the Derby. So, maybe you come in here and it's not all out to try and get the victory. You're just trying to maybe pick up those points that'll get you enough, get to that 40-point threshold so that when it comes to the Louisiana Derby, you're not in a place where you just absolutely have to perform on that day. So there's an interesting angle there to see what happens with Built. I am starting to have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for Built. He's kind of the horse. So I have to check my biases, right? You fall in love with these horses and then they appear and you're just like, oh, well, I'm betting Built. I'm high on him. I want to see him perform well. But I have that in my mind is, this again isn't the end goal. And that's similar to East Avenue. Tim Ryder's up over on Trust the Profits. This is his Derby horse, man. He saw him at Keeneland and he hasn't stopped talking about him. We get to the point where you have to put something over his mouth or over his fingers to stop texting about East Avenue because he's driving us nuts. He made the point of you draw a line through East Avenue's Breeders' Cup, right? I mean, he came out of the gate, completely stumbled, took a hop, and at that point, it just became a jaunt around the course to make sure he didn't get hurt. And that you could just draw a complete line through that. And then you're looking at a horse who broke his maiden at Ellis with a 91 and came back in the Futurity and ran a 99 at Keeneland. So Ghost Zapper on the dam side. Horse has the speed. Be interesting to see how he looks on the track first time. Looking at him in 2025, has some really solid works. But for me, this is a place I play against a horse like this. And I told Tim, I said, Tim, look, you could absolutely be right about how good East Avenue is. This is the place for me where I'd probably lean towards another horse like Built, who has that Lecomte under his belt, right? Has a little bit more of at least the race under his belt for this year. So I'm leaning Built on top. Jonathan's Way, I get the thoroughgraphs as another. You always like looking at all the different data points. Jonathan's Way has put up 3 5s as far as the thoroughgraph. Built has a 2. East Avenue has a 3. Of course, East Avenue got the 10 in that race that you cross out. So those are the 3 that I'm not breaking any news here with who I think is interesting. If you have to make me pick one, I am going to stick with Built. And I have some prices too that maybe you can mix in there, but I'm interested to hear who you put on top.
Yeah, I had a lot of the same reasoning as you. Built, to me, just a grinder. I mean, I picked him for the Lecomte Stakes a couple weeks ago on our podcast, and yeah, he got second, but he did not do me wrong. He ran his heart out, lost by a neck in between horses. That one horse, I forget, with Torres aboard, stayed up for longer than I thought was going to, but thought he ran really, really well last time out. Innovator, that's it. Yes, Innovator. Thank you. And Bill, he's usually a front runner like his dad, hard spun, but came well off the pace in Lecomte. That was also his first time on a sloppy track, ran tremendously. So I'm really not worried about a potential rain on Saturday for an off track. I know there's been talks, it's 50%, 60%, 40%, but regardless, if it is an off track, there's no worries there. Absolutely romped in that Gunrunner Stakes a couple starts back, running a 95, winning by 6.5 lengths. Beat Magnitude in the 13 in here, Render Judgment, the 10 in here, and Jolly Samurai, the 11 in here. I'm interested to hear what you think about Catalano going with Saiz over Jareth Lovebury in here, because Jareth Lovebury has been aboard, for both of those wins, or not both of them, but one of the wins, in the last two starts. So that was interesting, him going to Saiz. I personally think it's a plus. Saiz doesn't really win a whole lot first time riding, just 14% in the past year. It's out of about like 500 starts, but I don't know. Saiz is Saiz. I mean, he's a Triple Crown winning, Belmont winning jockey, Breeders' Cup winning jockey. So I think that's a positive. And also Racelands here. I know, Colin, you love Racelands. They actually give Built the top win percentage of 17.6%. So, but it was hard going against East Avenue. Like you said, you can cross out that last race. He's been laid off, since that Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But here's something. Brendan Walsh wins at just 3% in graded stakes races with horses coming off a 61 to 180-day layoff. One win from 30 starts. So it is a little bit worrisome, and you see that and think, oh, what's going to be East Avenue's odds? Probably about odds on, I'd say, maybe 2 to 1. So I think he's someone to play against, but obviously a real contender. You should throw him in. Another horse I want to talk about here, though, is Septarian. Very, very, very interesting for Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt aboard. But as you can see, those running lines, he started his career at Charlestown, breaking his maiden first time out, then goes to Laurel Park, wins an AOC 62 by a length and 3/4, and then he gets bought at a private sale from owner-trainer Javier Contreras by Resolute Racing to John Stewart. So really, really interesting, getting blinkers on for the first time on Saturday. Obviously Brown and Pratt, they're just killer together. They win at 33% in dirt route races, great dirt route graded stakes races together, 12 runs from 36 starts. So it's interesting, but for me, it's all Built. And of course, I forgot to add this up here, but yeah, jockey change, Luis Saez, big positive, horses for courses, loves fairgrounds, and Racelands true odds probability is Built. But you said you had a popper in here. I'm interested to hear that.
Yeah, well, we'll just going back real quick on what you said about Saez. I do like this jockey change because I want Saez on horses that are on the front end, and I think that's where Built is best suited. So at least from a running style and what does the jockey tend to be most successful at, that matches up for me. So to me, it's a positive as well, and something that doesn't concern me as far as putting Saez aboard. I wanted to like American Promise, the one on the inside for D. Wayne Lucas with Keith Asmussen aboard. This horse has some speed figures that have stood out to me. Was disqualified in the Southwest. He's had some trouble getting out of the gate, and it's caused some problems in some of those races. And if you go and look through the past performances and see where he went off slow and see where he brushed the gate, those are the races that he finished 3rd and 6th and 6th, right? The negative for American Promise is this is a horse that could, on the inside, he's going to want to be on the front end and maybe take it wire to wire. His victories have been on tracks that have also favored speed on those days that he has won. So it makes me question if those speed figures are as good as he is. So there's some question marks there. I liked him in the Southwest. He was my long shot play at 22 to 1 on that day. And it just wasn't wasn't for him, finishing behind Speed King. And remember Sandman, who had that incredible.
Oh my! What about that hop right out of the gate? That's talk about an interesting Derby horse to keep your eye on after a start like that, to come back and barely lose.
Yeah, and it just closed like crazy on that day. I did have interest in the Pletcher horse, who's moving from maiden special weight to allowance right into the graded stakes. He does that with his some horses like Tappet Trice and King's Barnes and Dreamlike. Those are some of the ones that have stood out, but there's a lot that haven't had success in doing that move. Tim, once again on the channel, made a good point of Pletcher doesn't have a lot of horses in the Derby Trail right now. So is this an opportunity just to try and get somebody on there? Has made me kind of reconsider that option. I like Seattle Road, Amos horse, $400,000 Keeneland September sale. Has been running at the distance. The speed figures look, he absolutely needs to step up. 79, 82, 78. That's not in the same ballpark as Built and East Ave, who we've talked about. If you look at Thoroughgraph, it's 3 5s for Seattle Road. So that's something. I'm sorry, it's not 3 5s. It is a pretty good angle where he's kind of paired a couple 14s and then he's coming back with a 10 and a 9. So the expectations from a Thoroughgraph standpoint are that he would make another step forward. It's just a matter of is he good enough? And there's obviously some question there. Not a horse I'd put on top, but maybe if you're trying to fill out those tries and supers, maybe he's a horse you kind of put underneath at 3rd and 4th spot. Tap it on the damn side with Quality Road, and he's been running at this distance. It's just a matter of can he kind of step up and improve upon those.
It's true. Well, Tom Amos, he's been hot at Fairgrounds. I think 10 days he's winning at 43% or something. But yeah, that American Promise did intrigue me, especially getting a jockey change to Keith Asmussen. I think he's gonna be incredibly aggressive to try to get that lead. The front end horse, Ellis was talking to me today. He goes, just watch that race, Ben. Just watch him come out of the gate. And he did. He just stood there, and so it'll be interesting. But I mean, if Built can get out or kind of lay in second with behind East Avenue and American Promise, we'll see. And also, Built had a brutal post in that Lecomte. He was in the 12 hole.
13 or something like that.
13,
yep, exactly.
12, 13,
that was all the reason everyone was tossing him.
Yeah. So now he's got a little bit better post. So no, I think we're going to get a good price on him. So there you go. Colin and I both.
Don't sleep on this 8 Giacoso. His horse is sired by Not This Time, who gets runners on the dirt. He's been running on the turf, but his one run in the Iroquois on the dirt, finishing 3rd behind Jonathan's Way and Owen Almighty. Owen Almighty obviously just came back with a really nice performance. This is another horse you don't want to just kind of toss away because you see those turf races. Giacoso number 8, one to keep an eye on.
Honestly, I was just confused that they even entered this horse in this race. Like, he just didn't really seem like he fit a whole lot. It was a good performance in the Iroquois, but yeah, I mean, his worst numbers were on dirt, Equibase speed figure wise. So I don't know, but not this time. Yeah, that is a very hot stallion at the moment. So we'll see. There you have it. We are both going with Built as our top play. And last but not least, one of my favorite races of the year, the 400,000 Sunland Park Derby, Sunday at Sunland Park, 20-point Kentucky Derby prep, a mile and a 16th on the dirt for 3-year-olds. Last year's winner was Stronghold for trainer Phil Diamano with Antonio Fresu aboard. Stronghold went on to win the Grade 1 Santa Anita in his next start following the Sunland Park Derby and finished 7th in last year's Kentucky Derby. There's just been one Kentucky Derby winner to have run in the Sunland Park Derby, and that, of course, being Mind That Bird. Mind That Bird finished 4th in the 2009 Sunland Park Derby before going on to win the 135th running of the Kentucky Derby at odds of 50-1. So fantastic day of racing Sunday at Sunland Park, 5 stakes races. So I'm stoked for it. But anyway, who is your play in the Sunland Park Derby?
Yes, so it's interesting. Mackenzie Street is a horse who had been previously trained by Tim Yaktine. They move him to trainer Justin Evans, and basically a strategy to move away from all the Bafferts running out in Delaware and Santa Del Mar, sorry, in Santa Anita, and they bring him over here for the first time, and he walks right into a race against another Baffert who, on paper, getaway car, is your standout, right? I mean, the speed figures just tower above. 3 speed figures, 99 and 97, early speed. I just have a tendency in a race like the Sunland Park Derby and the Remington Springboard Mile to fade these big names that are bringing these horses into these tracks. It's just it's what I do, and you'll find some nice prices. I hit Wild Atlantic Stormy in the Springboard Mile really nicely 2 years ago when, yeah, there were some big name Asmussens in there. I want to say Giant Mischief was part of that race that year. Baffert has walked into this race before 2 years ago and got beat by Wild on Ice, a horse who was local running and closed and beat Hard to Figure that day. And Asmussen had a horse by the name of How Did He Do It in that race. And those are the ones that are going to take money, right? Especially for those folks that are out here on the East Coast and looking and seeing Wesley Ward and D. Wayne Lucas and Bob Baffert, specifically Bob Baffert. You think that he's just going to kind of walk in and walk away with the points. I'm okay getting beat with a strategy of let's pretend he's not in the race. Okay. So my strategy is let's just take getaway car out. All right. If he wins, he beats me, I lose. I know what I'm going up against. Therefore, I'm not going to be putting a ton of money into a race like this. I'll bet accordingly, where you're trying to make a better score based on throwing out a horse who's going to be taking all of that money. And to me, I landed on kind of the 3 horses on the outside, the 7, the 8, and the 9, which is the Ward, the Lucas, and the previously mentioned McKenzie Street. I think this Caldera, number 9 for D. Wayne Lucas with Rafael Bejarano aboard, is an interesting choice. Who gets the outside post, is okay being forwardly placed as he was in his last time at Oaklawn. Has been working pretty consistently, going 5 furlongs and basically a minute flat, 3 out of 4 times in a row now. A $500,000 Liam's Map with Tis Now on the dam side. The Dam Send Me On My Way has had some, this horse has a victory at the distance of a mile and a 16th. Very long stretch run here at Sunland Park is something to also consider. I think Touchy, the number 8, just to the inside with Joel Rosario aboard, coming in for Wesley Ward, is interesting as well. Sired by Nyquist, because you look on the PPs and this horse has only gone the 5.5 and the 6.5 furlongs. So that's immediately, well, can he all of a sudden jump up and get the mile and the 16th? But with Nyquist on top, you're hoping some of that breeding comes along as well. And then McKenzie Street, we mentioned the speed figures that getaway cars put up. McKenzie Street's the other one that's been putting up some consistent 90s and even popped a 100 at Del Mar in the Del Mar Futurity, finishing behind Gaming.
It was a tough regression, though, going from a 91 to a 73. I know that was against Barnes, but still.
It's a big one. He dueled with in that race and just gave way. So hopefully those 90s are more of what this horse is, as opposed to that 73 that you pointed out.
Yeah. Touchy was very interesting to me. Take Charge Tom, kind of your same reasonings with kind of going for horses for courses and trainers that are stable there year round. But I did also fall on Caldera, add my little graphic to the stage. But yeah, best late pace rating in the race of a 95, which is better than Getaway Car, by the way. So that's just something to point out. But anyway, he's a Liam's Map colt for my racehorse and D. Wayne Lucas, same connections as Seize the Gray. And look at that, Caldera is also a gray. Did take him 3 tries to break his maiden. However, once he added blinkers, he was a different horse. Won a main special weight at Oaklawn last time out by 5.5 lengths, running a 96, going a mile and 16th on the dirt. Started off his career as a sprinter, going 6 furlongs in main special weight at Churchill in November and finished 6th. But once he got that 2 turn distance at Oaklawn, he finished 2nd by just a couple lengths in main special weight, then just romped last time out. Really interesting spot that Lucas is putting him in. He basically never makes this move in the past almost 45 years. So that's almost like 82 or something, 83. He's only had one start at Sunland Park or Turf Paradise or Albuquerque or Rhodesia, that whole circuit. So this is just something that he does not do. So that's a very positive sign for me. And Dwayne Lucas and Bayhunter honestly don't have a ton of history together either, but in the past 3 years, they are winning at 20% in dirt routes together, 4 wins from 20 starts with a plus 76% ROI. Caldera's Dam is sent me on my way. She had 3 starts, but just a third. And Liam's Mappy's at 30,000 stud fee. They paid 500,000 for Caldera at the Ocala Breeder Sales 2-year-old and training sale last year. So there are some pretty high hopes for this horse. And also, yeah, look at that really nice 5 furlong bullet work in minute 0.8 at Oakland Park on February 2nd as well, 1:36. So, but it was hard not to go against the 6 here. Take Charge Tom, just, that horses for courses, 3 for 3, undefeated, back-to-back stakes wins. Robertino Diodoro and Orlando Magica just been tearing it up at this circuit. Here, so Diodoro Magica win at 56% together and 89% in the money in non-graded stakes races in the last 3 years. 5 wins from 9 starts and 8 in the money, plus 27% in the RI. I know that's a very small sample size, but still, to win over half your races together in any category is wild. And they're winning at 31% in all dirt route races together in the last 3 years. 11 wins from 35 starts. Best early pace rating with a 103.3. I think you'll get a good price on Take Charge Tom. But I think if you're going to bet Take Charge Tom, it's probably worth betting the 1. It's my birthday. The other Diodoro. Really nice breeding. Vacoma with After the Rose by Pioneer Nile, bred by Spendthrift Farm. So also undefeated, winning by a combined 16 lengths in his 2 starts. But to me, Caldera and this move by Dwayne Lucas kind of shows it all. So, and 5-1 morning line. So I'll take that any day.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Those were the other ones I would consider if you're trying to put together something when you take out Getaway Car. And like I said, just preface that with, we understand that Getaway could come in, and you always have that risk of them walking through a race like this. But let's maybe take a shot.
Yeah, well, and then you look at Getaway Car, like, why does he need to go to a race like this?
And 0 for 2 at the distance as well.
So
0 for 3 at the distance, actually.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 2 seconds, but yeah, no wins. So be interesting race, but yeah, what just a stacked weekend of racing across North America. Colin, thanks so much for being on the show. It's great to hear your picks, and because I guess we're all together. Good cheer, Built, and Caldera. Me and Colin's
great Sunday, we did not we'll be trying together.
Yeah, zero planning on that, by the way. But anyway, thank you everybody so much for watching. Good luck in your wagers this weekend, and we'll see you next week.